venting from the tank to maintain pressure.
Hey guys, 125, you're watching a Starlink launch on a Falcon 9.
Falcon is in startup.
Falcon 9 is in startup. Now in just a few seconds here, we'll wait for the final launch director go for launch.
Time to let the American broomstick fly and hear the sounds of freedom. LD is go for launch.
LD has given that go for launch. All systems are go. Let's listen into the terminal countdown and watch as Falcon 9
T-minus 30 seconds.
takes our Starlink satellites to space.
T-minus 20. 15.
T-minus 15.
10.
T-minus 10.
9.
9.
8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. 0.
1. Engine full power.
Ignition.
And liftoff.
Liftoff.
Falcon 9, starting 410.
Vehicle's pitching now, right?
Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, carrying our stack of 48
telemetry nominal.
carrying our stack of 48 Starlink satellites to low Earth orbit. Moments ago, we throttled the 9 M1D engines down, reducing the speed by decreasing the flow
Vehicle supersonic.
fuel to the engine. Now that's in preparation for max Q, which is the maximum aerodynamic pressure that the vehicle will see, coming up in just a few seconds.
Max Q.
There we go.
There's max Q, and we will have 3 events happening here shortly. We will have main engine cutoff, stage separation, and second engine startup 1. Now, main engine cutoff is where all 9 of those M1D engines currently burning will shut off to slow the vehicle down in preparation for the next event, stage separation. Now, this is where the first and second stages will separate. Now, the start of our second engine MVAC chill has started, as you just heard. Now, after stage separation, the first stage will make its way back down to Earth for landing, whereas the second stage will continue on its journey to the third event, second engine startup 1. That's where that single MVAC engine will light up and propel the second stage along with the Starlink satellites to orbit. The cool views of the first stage with the Earth in the background. Just about 10 seconds from main engine cutoff.
There's Miko.
Stage separation confirmed.
There it goes. And the camera's adjusting the exposure and ignition.
You can see on those cool live views of the first and second stage.
There goes the fairings.
As you can see, the fairing have just popped off there, but we did have a successful main engine cutoff, stage separation.
Fairing separation confirmed.
And second engine startup 1. And as you saw, we had a successful fairing deployment. Again, SpaceX has reflown these Falcon fairing halves since 2019, but again, the fairing halves flying on today's mission are brand new, and we will be attempting to recover them on our recovery vessel, Doug, for a future mission. You can see cool live views from the Falcon 9 first stage on your left with its grid fins deployed, and the second stage on your right with that single MVAC engine burning. As second stage heads towards its targeted drop-off orbit for our Starlink satellites, stage 1 will complete 2 burns in order to make its way back down to Earth. Now the first is the entry burn, and this is where the
Acquisition of signal, Bermuda.
entry burn is where 3 of the M1D engines will reignite to help slow the stage down as it re-enters the upper parts of the Earth's atmosphere. The second burn is the landing burn, and this is a single engine burn that brings the vehicle speed down rapidly in order to land on our drone ship. If you're just joining us, we've had a successful liftoff of Falcon 9 from Cape Canaveral Space Force Stations, Slick 40, and right now you're looking at live views from the first and second stages, with the first stage currently making its way back to our drone ship, a shortfall of gravitas in the Atlantic Ocean, and the second stage carrying our stack of 48 Starlink satellites to their low Earth orbit. And this is our 10th mission of 2022. In fact, it's the 10th mission in 10 weeks and the 7th Starlink mission of 2022 so far.
Vehicle on nominal trajectory.
Now, the Merlin engines on that first stage are optimized for sea level, so they achieve 190,000 pounds of thrust during ascent and descent. And in contrast, that MVAC engine that you see on the right side of your screen is optimized for 220,500 pounds of thrust in vacuum. And the main difference between these two engines is the size of that nozzle you can see on the second stage there. It's much bigger than the M1Ds on the first stage. There's also a cool glamour shot of the Falcon 9 grid fins on those live views from the first stage on your left. And these are 4 hypersonic grid fins that are positioned near the top of the first stage. And they help to guide and steer that first stage as it re-enters the Earth's atmosphere and helps orient it as it comes down back to Earth. The Falcon 9 first stage is also equipped with 4 landing legs made out of carbon fiber aluminum honeycomb, and they're placed symmetrically around the base of the rocket, so you'll want to watch out for their deployment just prior to landing. We're coming up on our entry burn here shortly in just about 20 seconds here. And again, this is a 3-engine burn meant to slow that first stage down as it hits the thicker layers of the Earth's atmosphere. The burn will last about 20 seconds or so.
Stage 1 FTS is safed.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
At the start of our stage 1 entry burn.
Stage 2 FTS is safed.
There it goes.
Vehicle on nominal trajectory.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
Okay,
Just had
they're
a
trending in the
successful
second squad.
stage 1 entry burn. We're just under a minute to the stage 1 landing burn. That should start at about T plus 8 minutes and 25 seconds. And for those who follow along, that entry burn that we just did is the reason that we have soot on that first stage. So when we fly through our own, or in
Stage
Falcon
1
9,
transonic.
when Falcon 9 flies through its
Just
own
leave
plume
down
during that
below.
entry burn, that
Speed
plume
of fluid.
deposits the soot from our carbon-based fuel as it burns onto the sides of the first stage.
Start of terminal guidance.
Coming up really shortly on
we're going to
stage
get
1
podcast
landing
again
burn
from-
start.
Stage 1 landing burn.
We've started our stage 1 landing burn. We may or may not have videos for this. Should have second engine
Stage
cutoff
1 landing leg deploy.
here shortly as well.
And back engine cutoff.
There's second engine cutoff.
And there we go.
We're waiting on confirmation of that stage 1 landing.
Nominal
Let's
orbital
shut from
insertion.
the second stage.
Did just get confirmation of a good orbit from our second stage carrying our Starlink satellites. And we are now waiting for the deployment of our 48 Starlink satellites, which is scheduled to occur about a little under an hour from now.
Expected loss of signal, Cape.
It looks like we did get confirmation from the teams that we did have a successful first stage landing, even though we haven't received any video or live views from that. But this does mark the 110th successful landing of our Falcon first stage, including Falcon Heavy. We did have a good orbit for our second stage, and we're now just waiting on the deployment of our Starlink satellites. As I mentioned before, we won't have live audio or visual confirmation for payload deployment either currently due to lack of ground station coverage.
There we go.
There's that Falcon 9 first stage on our drone ship.
Guys, I'm going to end the video here. I'm about 25
But again, we